loves a show. He loves it when he's on show, and with Stuart Lancaster here, it'll bring out the best in him.
Tim Wigglesworth is the referee. It's going to be blowy, expecting gusts of around 45 miles an hour to barrel down the pitch from right to left as we watch this evening. Forecast rains here as well. London Irish won the toss, and they have decided to play into that wind in the first half. So Danny Cipriani and Sale will have it to begin with, and we've already seen the earliest of problems that you will have with it. It's one thing having the wind, it's another thing harnessing it.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's a
noble pack. As we get on the way, and a fumble straight away from the kick-off. Julian Caminati, the player to knock that one on. Not exactly on foreign soil the Stade Grenoble would have wanted.
And cadeau Noel, Christmas presents straight away for Stade Francais. Very welcome start. There's nothing better than starting a game like that, getting a slip up, because the mentality of the opposition, particularly the player that does it, is weak, and then if you can pounce on that straight away, great way to start a game.
So an opportunity, early opportunity for Stade Francais, deep inside Grenoble territory here. Sergio Parise lends his sizable weight to the back of this first scrum. Julian Dupuis, the Stade scrum half. Christophe Berdos issues in the instruction to get that ball in, and a good dominant push from Stade. Flings it out to the left, taking it up. Julian Arias, been in good form of late, this guy. So straight in front of the post. Stade. Here, Rabadan. Parise have some numbers outside. Little kick through from Bonival. Just beaten by the touchline. Gibel Camara, player to give chase, but we'll come back for an advantage here to Stade.
It's always a pity, you know, not a fan of just kicking it through for the sake of it. It wasn't on there. If it was on, the referee would have given them a couple of more advantages. Come back midfield, try and get something better, because that deserves something better, that scrum, than the 3-point opportunity they have now.
Peter Kimlin, I think if my French serves me, the Grenoble number 8.
Okay, I will change.
Eventually, I guess it probably could have been more of a number, but it seems that Kimlin was the player that eventually gave away the penalty. Stade Francais will, with just a couple of minutes on the board, through Morne Hussein, have an opportunity to kick the first points of the night. There they are.
It's always been nice for a kicker of his stature to get a really easy warm-up kick right in front of the sticks like that. Well deserved after that scrum. Pity they didn't capitalise a little bit more, because they just lost a little bit of control at the back of the scrum there. It wasn't going anywhere because the front rows have broken up, but they'll be happy with that start, Stade Francais.
It's the old cliche, but I think it really applies to Morne Hussein. He is the sort of guy that he misses a couple of those. Granted, he's never going to miss from that range, but he misses a couple of those and all of a sudden starts to question himself. As Grenoble take control here, here's Anthony Hegarty, the hooker. First opportunity, just 3 minutes in for Grenoble to show what they can do going forward. Just inside that Stade half. Team possession. Pascal Pape.
Pape absolutely full right there to go for that ball. Putting hard under all kinds of pressure, coming straight through there, and that's because there's no protection at the rub time. Pape just getting done there for the knock on.
The law says that he must make some sort of an attempt to actually gather that ball, I think.
The laws don't matter, Adrian. Bend the law as much as possible. And Pape, there's one guy who certainly doesn't know the laws.
The secret to Aidan McCullen's career right there.
You'd be surprised how many professional players don't know the rules. Pretend they're not to anyway.
So the first opportunity right on the halfway line. James Hart puts in. Such dominance from that first Stade scrum, but Grenoble managed to hold their own here. Right first, taking a few yards. Rattini. Quick defence, Julian Arias to snaffle that, but Grenoble still in possession here.
C'est accidentel, monsieur.
from Grenoble's point of view, they would have discussed obviously before the game plan, and how they want to get this into this game pretty quickly. They might have coughed up those 3 points, but all of a sudden they had themselves in the front foot, and such a rudimentary error will, I'm sure, frustrate Fabrice Landreau and Bernard Jackman, etc.
Absolutely, and big hit from Arias. One of the benefits of being a fast player in defence as well. We see Dupuis down on the pitch. Tell the referee James Hart doing a great job blocking him, actually upsetting him and getting him out of the defensive line, and that led to the early break from Grenoble. But there, just a bit of accidental offside. Stade Francais opted to go for the scrum from the free kick. Great hit from Arias coming in, spotting the man, taking him down.
It's that idea as well, obviously giving your defence the responsibility to make these decisions for themselves, because several coaches obviously will say to you, this is what we do and you must hold the line, but clearly they're given the responsibility to themselves.
And as you said, you'll often see a forward trying to do the exact same thing, but lack of wheels that Arias showed there to come in, pick his man, put him down. You have to make the hit. That's the thing. If you miss that tackle, or if there's an offload go away before you do, you're in trouble with your defensive line.
James Hart dishes out the instructions of encouragement to his pack. Is Stade getting a big push on here? They're really decimating that Grenoble pack on their own foot in, and Dupuis flings it out to the left. Decent defence across for Grenoble, and Jeffrey Dumeru takes that one on for Stade, and Julien Arias. 7 tries from 13 starts in the top 14 for Arias so far, so clearly a fair hot streak of form.
Good player, Arias. He's been around a while. Big, strong winger. Likes to get the ball. One of the really nice things, and you love to see this from wingers, coming in off his wing, looking for work, hungry for work, coming in off the 10, off the 9 on occasion. He makes all kinds of dints into the defensive line.
Bernard Jackman technique all over it there, the double hit on the Stade attack. His first line out of the day goes to the middle of it, then hand to retrieve it. Again, some opportunity and a bit of space out on the left there for Grenoble to attack. Fabian Genkenbacke, the full back. Parise probably was within his rights there to compete. Christophe Berdos thought not. Ultimately, again, it breaks down for Grenoble.
Just a bit of indecision there from Kimlin to Alexander. Bad pass, and Alexander not expecting it at all. And there's a golden rule: if you're going to do something, even if it's wrong, do it at 100%. And here you just see a little bit of indecision. Hart gets pulled into does well to secure that ball. Parise
leaning on his right knee, possibly a little bit too much.
Jeff Dubois, Dax and Toulouse, very, very heavily involved now in Stade Francais coaching setup. Great player, really good rugby brain. You can see his effect on the Stade Francais side.
Stade are going to lean on this scrum, you would feel. Although that's a decent push. Grenoble, it's come full circle almost. When it gets to that point in the scrum, it's very much down to pot luck, isn't it, that they call for the referee.
Very hard to keep control of the ball. That's what we saw earlier on when Stade got the 3 points, destroying the opposition scrum, but just not keeping possession at the back of that scrum. And as you said, very lucky. Sometimes that can just, and best there going for the ball on the Grenoble side. Sometimes you could turn that one right over.
We mentioned at the outset that the winner this evening will find themselves in the top 4 of the top 14, crucial playoff places. Nice place to be for the Christmas arrival for the end of the year. So far, 9 minutes in, Stade leading by those 8 points now. That one is staying just a couple of minutes on the clock, and then India 17. I'm looking more assured here so far. Not much control about that, but ultimately it's effective until Hugo Bonival, his final pass just doesn't come off. But Stade again, Dupuis still in control here. Pape, good protection of the ball as well. Stade looks to go from coast to coast there. Out it comes to Arias. some territory there, but it's the tight head Slimani who protects it. Tape again. Important player for France these days too. Spain, that one again breaks down, and it'll be up to the referee to decide if Rafi Rattini deliberately knocked that on. It certainly seems to be a bit of a deliberate contact.
Yeah, he's looking to get away with that. Essential intervention though as well. Start building a bit of momentum, and they're getting more and more into this game. It's slipping at the moment from Grenoble. One of the really good things about this Stade side, there's a very high indicator of their change in mentality. Their defence this year has been better than it ever has been for the defence, both in tackling but also defensive line, talking to each other, ruck time. They're competing for everything, and that's the big change in this Stade side. They've coasted for the last few years. That's been very, very obvious, and very obvious from their fall from grace. They used to be residents in the top 4 of this top 14 competition, and they've been clutching the end of the league for a long time. It's good to see them back mid-table now. Could see them as competitors this season.
Previously a team who were at one stage Galacticos of French rugby. You look across their team sheet, it certainly doesn't suggest that these days. There's still a lot of quality in there. Stade very much on the up and up these last few months. This time it is Stade who give away the penalty. Ruck, he took off his feet possibly.
Just as I tainted them. Grenoble coming up with the counter ruck. It's been amazing how, as you mentioned, Adrian, the fall from grace of this Stade Francais side. They've had less and less pink in their jersey as they've come down. Used to wear pure pink when they were at the top of the league. Now just the little stripes.
You're suggesting a direct correlation there. The black might have the
you can wear pink effect if you're good.
Stade unbeaten at home since August, so but again, the direct result there. Another line out here for Grenoble. Ben Hand was the target last time. Ben Hand is the target this time. It wasn't straight. According to Christophe Berdas. Fair enough.
Yeah, definitely clutching one side of that line out.
It is a gripe of a lot of head coaches when it comes to lineouts and at the top level, scrums, feeds are generally, they're not straight, are they generally?
This league has really suffered that not straight in the scrum. Referees were all over at the start of the season. It was amazing. You were seeing 3 to 6 turnovers in the game purely from not putting them straight. And one of the big things, Adrian, the lack of the skill of the hooker. That has gone. Players have forgotten how to hook. So you have people just putting the ball straight in and coming straight out the other side. Stade should play this now.
Another ridiculously messy scrum, but it is Stade Francais ultimately who come out on top. Antoine Bourbon, the player in control. Great yardage made here by Stade. Stade really on the front foot when they're in their own footing. It's amazing that Grenoble have actually put up so much, had the capacity to put up so much resistance on their own footing. It doesn't seem to correlate.
Sounds like home and away fixtures in this French top 14. Just see absolute demolition in that front row.
Pierre Rabadan outside Franca there on his feet in the end. One fine touch. Going away again. Farise, the up and under, he's well able for it, and give chase himself just inside that Grenoble 22. Perhaps a knock on first by Stade if we're going to come back for any of these, but we're not. Play on. Dupuis. Farise into scrum half. You can do a Gary Owen and step in at scrum half just moments later. Now to give support to that play. Go for the crossfield kick. Almost finding its target. Julian Arias. Could yet be in here, Arias. Just beaten by the line. A big opportunity for Stade there. It seemed a couple of times actually had the movement broken down.
Yeah, that crossfield kick looked totally overcooked. And that miss. A miss for that touch. That was a Stade ball if that ball went in. And very costly error.
Never looked likely in truth to get to it, Julian Arias. 30-year-old, maybe a couple of years ago he might have been a bit more fleet of foot about him. So it was up and under again. Please again the player to compete. Stadion Alexandra, who makes the break for Grenoble. Well, 15 minutes in, their sheer lack of opportunities to score here is going to be a concern, you would think, for Grenoble. James Hart looks to change the point of attack. And Grenoble look for a little bit of territory, which at this point of the game is most certainly something that I'm sure the coaching staff will encourage them to do. There's Stewart there, the Kiwi out half. Full control again. Albertus Buckle, the player to defend on that occasion.
And that's not what Grenoble wants, another scrum. There's no way through there for Stade.
A lot of players back obviously in that Grenoble team. You see the quality of the Stade Francais team. Scrappier than you would have expected over the opening 16 minutes.
Very scrappy and surprised more with the Grenoble side. Stade have built momentum in this game without actually doing very much. It's been Grenoble's inactivity and lack of play, and in defence they haven't been great. I don't know why we're coming back to that on the replay. Nothing wrong with that. Straight in on the ball.
The initial infringement was Albertus Buckle, the South African loose head. In the initial viewing, I thought it was just a rudimentary mistake, but in fairness to him, he did have the 6'4", almost 18 stone of Ben Hand on his back as he was attempting to take possession of it. Might explain some of that.
That'll be disappointed though, they're not further into this game. Yeah, we saw Parisi putting up the up and under, but that ball should have found touch, and that should have been a try opportunity for Stade. Missed that occasion.
Thankfully for Grenoble's point of view, they managed to turn that one over before the ball even got in. Julian Dupuis seemed much more intent on dishing out his instructions than dishing the ball in, as Grenoble on the burst here, and it is that man, Albertus Buckle, without Ben Hand for company this time. Perhaps he could have done with him as 3 seconds over, and somehow turns that one over on the Stade side, but again, almost as quickly as they have won it, Grenoble have it back. We haven't seen much of them in this sort of position of the field so far. Decent competition for the ball, really slowing it down here, Stade. Buckle again drops the shoulder.
And that's exactly what we're talking about. Stade Francais, change of attitude. That attitude has not been in this side for a long time. Past few years that hasn't been there. Pape leading the charge. Off the camera, you saw him taking it out, James Hart lying all over. That, when you take out an in-line like that, often you see it break down, absolutely break down. Knock-ons come because you have a forward stepping in, trying to become the scrum half, not capable of doing so. And that consistent defence turning over. Big carry here with a big man. It is.
There was no way Julien Dupuis, all 5'10" of him, was going to get in the way of the 18 stone, 7 pounds of Albertus Buckle there.
Could have given him an Oscar for his defensive attempt as well, Dupuis. No more was he going to make that tackle.
He turned 30 yesterday, Julien Dupuis, so might be forgiven the wiseness of those years to take him out of that danger zone. As Stade again on the attack here. Nice possession from that line out. Again, it's Parisi, the man, to drive him forward here. Some quick hands. That's Arias. Out in the right wing. So Stade in good control here again, all of a sudden in the strike zone. He banked on that man, coughing up possession so easily.
Juste en avant.
Frustrating, he kind of went back himself. And that's what they've done. Arias, there we see the Julian Arias. Ball comes all the way out. He's right on the wing, but he doesn't go into play. Often you see wingers go into play, cough up the possession, fights hard, works his body hard to stay in, and then unfortunately it is coughed up, and Teresa is the guilty party.
He has a very unusual running style, Julian Arias, maybe Doug Howlett-esque in many ways.
All quads, no hamstrings. Too much squatting in the gym. Although you'd envy his pace as a forward. He's almost like a flanker. He's almost like an extra flanker. He's not your pure pace man that you'll get him to finish off, but he'll put huge dents in defence.
La reprise, on va se décaler. On est ici.
Couple of France caps earlier in his career, Julian Arias. In a dominant position of the pitch, albeit without the ball. For Stade here.
One of the places I think Stade let himself down is at scrum time is the back five. It's the back five supporting that front five. That's where it's falling down. They come up very, very high. You see it here. And then the front five, or the front three break up. That's why that scrum isn't following through. Very, very high body front positions.
Decent break from Hart here. Brilliant break as it turns out. Gets his team on the front foot. And from Bourvan trying to get to grips with his man there. That's a decent relieving kick for Grenoble, but again Stade look to get this one underway again quickly. Stain does exactly that. Mayor Bosman hasn't had much opportunity with the ball in hand, but decent enough break there. Again, that's good, a found touch, the up and under for Grenoble there. It's very scrappy. He's a trademark run with the ball in hand, such a brilliant offloader of the ball. Fortunately, that time probably less so. Perhaps by fortune more than anything else, Grenoble find themselves in a decent area of the pitch to launch another attack here. Getting that support in is one of Grenoble's big issues so far, but they were there. The advantage is called back.
It's one of the frustrations for a player like Teresa. You know, often you give a pass and the ball goes to deck and you blame him, but I often look at the players around him because he's actually doing the right thing. He's creating the space and they're not up with him, they're not on the same wavelength. And on that occasion he gave the offload and Kimlin intercepted, but there was nobody talking to him. There's nobody saying the opposition's right on your shoulder, don't give it, hold it yourself, go yourself. Those communications in rugby are essential, and you need players around you telling you what to do, especially what you can't see when you're blindsided.
Well, James Hart played just 3 games for Grenoble last season. Did a big part from this season, the opportunity to level it. Spread through the pink posts, 3 points apiece.
He's done very well, James Hart, and he's really in that mode of the French number 9 now, where he's a kicker as well. The French, they go for the 9s more than the 10s in the rest of the world, and that ticking that box has helped him get in the side, and then the rest of his game has come on as a result of being in the side and being around better players.
And if you look at the Mike Phillips example, I guess, as well, increasingly teams are looking to run their game through the 9. Teresa again takes possession of that and stand back inside the Grenoble half. Hugo Bonival. Slimani, the tight head at the centre of this drive. Stade Francais. Numbers up well and up quickly for Grenoble. Pape. He looks to avoid the tackle and manages to do just that. No options out there for Mayor Bosman. No fantastic control over this game by either side. I suppose Stade probably have the slight advantage in that score. almost a brilliant take on the Stade side, but it does come back that direction either way as Pape goes for the long reaching pass and does find his man. Brilliant ball outside. Jibril Camara. Quick hands again. Does come back for Stade Francais. Mornestein looks at the post, but then weighs up his options outside him. Rabah Slimani. Stade now to do a big opportunity here. And it comes all the way eventually out to Arias. Arias for the line. It's almost there. Stade almost there. And over they go. Jeffrey Dumeru.
That is a brilliant try. The offloading in close quarters by Stade Francais, absolutely fantastic. Team try, built, multi-phase. Fantastic try. And that man Arias involved heavily again. Parise involved heavily again. Bonival at full back. He's been a revelation for Stade this season. Look at that offload and look at this one. Watch this from Arias. On the deck, spots the man. Try time.
Just his ability, Arias, to keep that ball alive really was the thing. He bought himself a few seconds, allowed the support to get there.
But there, Parise as well, taking out two men with no momentum, getting a poor pass from Dupuis and making an absolute silk purse out of a Sauzier. Fantastic work by Parise, key player in this Stade side.
Mornestein will have the opportunity to put a little gold thread around that silk purse with the punted posts here. It'll be a tough enough angle. 1 from 1 so far. This to give Stade a 7-point lead. Never looked all that likely. But Sergio Parise, every time something positive about Stade Francais tonight, if it's an up and under, if it's stepping in at scrum half, if it's being that support man, if it's competing at the breakdown against Grenoble, if you give out a man of the match after 22 or 3 minutes, it's in, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's you know, he's less athletic than he has been in the past. He's no longer just a ball carrier. It's the brain of the man. It's how he unlocks space, unlocks other players into space, and he's more of a credit maker than a credit taker now. He'll make other players look good. He'll put them through gaps and then create tries, although he won't be the one to score them.
Argentina born back row, very much more associated with Italy.
5 secondes. C'est bien joué là, 5 secondes. Elle devient rouge, messieurs.
Stade cough up the opportunity. For all their dominance, Stade Francais, and you indicated a little earlier on that they really have been the dominant team here. That try that they scored was probably one of the few times that they've actually managed to keep control of possession and keep control of the play.
And that was and even at that, you know, it wasn't perfect, but it's this again, and this is Jeff Dubois' influence coming from Toulouse, who was the last place he played, and Dax indeed. Jeff brings this game, this close quarters offloading, creating space, putting other players through the space, and that hasn't been in this side either. They just showed up for games, expected to win. They have different workman-like attitude about them now, and it's actually Grenoble the ones who are a bit slack and going through the silly season motions coming to this game.
For all that, after our earlier criticism of how straight the hooking was, that actually did seem to be straight, and unfortunately I'm sure his coaches are going to give him a bit of a red ear over that, because perhaps a little bit of an angle towards Grenoble might have been the trick.
But it's something that we touched on earlier on, but just to complete what we were saying, the hooking, the talent of hooking, it used to be such an important skill, and you go through 20 to 50 scrums a week at least, depending on what club side you were and how good your scrum was. But a lot of it was their technique, getting it right for your hooker, so you get a stable scrum so he can get his leg up, dump the ball back. And that's dissipated, that's disappeared in recent years, and now all of a sudden they have to do it again, and the hookers cannot do it because it hasn't been in their repertoire.
Must be said too that it was a good shove from Stade Francais. They still had to win it, of course, but it's Grenoble who take possession of their own line out. Parise under it. This time is the company of Fabien Alexandre. manages to halt him temporarily. Stade look for the territory. It was a poor enough kick. Kimlin it was that took it. He had a few numbers outside him, Hugo Bonival, but he goes for the little chip over the top. When it comes off, it looks good and successful, effective for his team. A lot of numbers gathered around the midfield area. Stade, Pierre Rabadan. And Stade look to see what they can get going here. As Peter Kimlin brings a halt to that particular manoeuvre. Through the hands is the option here so far. Still with the numbers outside. Jeffrey Dumeru, the try scorer, close to ground, perhaps wisely in that position. Quick tap and go from Dupuy. He had his inside centre Mayor Bosman for company, and it almost came off. But instead, Grenoble managed to turn that one over. Renault doing it their own, must be said. And that's worked out almost perfectly for them. The ball is still moving, I think. Interesting to get another look at that.
Remember I was saying about players not moving the rules. I didn't know that one. And so frustrating there for Stade after having that penalty opportunity. And it was my player, Stewart, taken an age to get away from after making the tackle. I'm very lucky he didn't take up a card. Haven't seen a player get away with that, taking so much time, labouring over getting it rolling away from the tackle.
Since Richie McGaw a few weeks back. Hart. Blair Stewart. Another big hit on Hart from Sergei Parise. He's clearly made that an area of the game that he's going to get to grips with this evening, as Ernest Dane goes for the, I think we call it the Brian O'Driscoll pass. It doesn't come off though. What a huge hit again from Parise on Hart.
Absolutely. And that, you know, often you look to the 9 and go, it's his fault. He hasn't had great protection from his forwards. They're not fully mentally in this game.
Come on! 6 rouges. Faites-moi l'effort de rester lié sur les mêlées quand vous montez. Le problème, c'est qu'il me tient le 7 là, en face, mais restez lié. Oui, vous êtes obligé à sortir.
Towards half-time, Stade Francais in front just.
Yeah, they'll be disappointed, but as you said, nobody's really wrestled control of this game. It is there for the taking. And this, Adrian, this is a characteristic of Christmas sport. You see it in so many sports. Teams just show up, go through the motion. It's so frustrating for coaches to watch. You see your players after a hard season, putting in a great off-season, and then coming, and often teams throw their season away at Christmas time, and it is absolutely nuts to see it happen. And players need to take control of that. The coach can no longer do anything about that. Players taking their mind off the job, thinking of going home if they're overseas players, thinking of seeing their families, putting the boots up for Christmas time. It can cause all kinds of problems.
Yeah, because there was a little bit of a break for these teams. Stade Francais back in action on the 29th of December against Perpignan, Sunday, the same day as Grenoble take on Castres. But you really feel that that's an element? I mean, from the outside we look on and we think these players are completely engaged in, you know, if in football there's a busy Christmas schedule, these guys get a bit of a breather. Is that not almost an extra card for them to give everything they have this evening?
You would think so, wouldn't you? But it's amazing, and especially when you have a team travelling like so. Grenoble, I actually thought, when I saw the team sheet today, I thought this Grenoble side absolutely would be engaged, fully committed. You have the odd guy that is, but it's not a team that are all on the same wavelength, that's for sure. You can see it.
Stade again go for that little chip over the top, but Fabian Gengenbacher snuffs it out. I think there's any even need to say it anymore. Sergei Parise with the one to gather. Hugo Bonival.
Sortez rouge!
Stade looked a little dummy run, that was definitely forward.
Horrific class.
Definitely had one eye on his
Merci Pascal.
starter on Christmas Day.
Protein shake. But speaking of players in the same wavelength, Bonival, he's one of the products of Stade Francais, and he's one. when we were talking earlier on about Stade putting players through to build them for the future, he is one of those players. He's only 23, seems like he's been around for a while, but he has just gone from strength to strength this season, and it's people like Francais being in the side that makes it. Look at this switch coming up. That's just the right thing to do, and that's instinctive, and that's something that has gone out of rugby more and more in the past few years, and it's great to see, particularly Stade bringing it back in. Not playing, going through the move just for the sake of going through the move, but playing what's in front of you, because that's heads up rugby. That's what we talk about when we say heads up rugby, spotting what's in front of you and going through the right move for that occasion, unlocking space and putting players through gaps.
Interesting, given our conversation a few minutes ago, that James Hart clearly putting that over on the Grenoble side, and the referee calling him up on it, so he can't win this guy this evening. But may yet come back on the Grenoble side. Illegally so, says Christophe Berdas.
Capitaine, venez me voir. Je vous ai parlé dans le vestiaire, pas de commentaires. D'accord, il y a juste un en avant du rouge. Non, je parle pour vous reconnaîtrez.
First he give it, then he take it away. Referee allowing Grenoble go for that ball, and then giving a tiny little knock on spot away ref. And obviously he's had words with Francais, just saying to him there that he had a chat in the change room before the game, didn't want any commentary throughout the game, and he's getting it from Francais. That's, you know, a good, intelligent player will get in the ear of the referee. He's a human as well. He can be the devil or the angel on the shoulder.
We have Sergei Francais and Julien Dupuis hanging around the back of that scrum on the side of it. Christophe Berdas can expect a little earache this evening. Just over 6 minutes to go to half time here, and again scrum time, ball is turned over. Well, you see so many scrums in the top 14, you would imagine it's something of a perfect art. It's been far from that so far this evening. As Grenoble looks to try and muster some sort of a concrete, cohesive move here. There's Stewart trying to get his attack on the front foot. A little bit flat so far. Hard, back out again to Stewart. A little feign and go. To a dead end. The dead end of the grasp of Albertus Buckle. To reduce this game to a 2-point match between now and half-time would represent something of a success, you would think, for Grenoble. Rita Jouer, the outside centre, taking that one on. His heart is snaffled up by that Stade defence. In hand, the former Brumbies Ortaz Lock, taking it on there for Grenoble. And back, it's territory game now. No ground to be made with ball in hand, so up it goes, and again it's Arias. Beautiful little offload from him, keeping his team moving forward. Hugo Bonival, as Aidan mentioned just a few minutes ago, real class act, called into the France Six Nations squad this year. Didn't feature, it's due to a couple of injuries, so clearly in the mind of the French coaching staff. As we get a little bit of aerial ping pong. Ronnie Stein eventually sees that we're going to get some set play here. Pitch cutting up a little bit as well, that might be a factor, and obviously both sides deciding. Grenoble, I guess, more so, as we see Bernard Jackman with his fetching after your picture there. Both sides clearly going to perhaps look to put boot to ball a little bit more.
You could hear the coaches shouting on to Grenoble to go for the kick, obviously thinking that there's a weakness on the Stade side. There we see Stewart. Just getting a little bit of a bang in the head.
The rules are so clear now about concussion. It's been highlighted over the last few years. We're not saying it in the last few weeks, I should say. It's not may not exactly be that serious, but they will clearly get the attention that they require. Have a look at this Stade Francais try.
Now when you see tries like that in the offloads that come with it, it shows the importance of defence as well, because it's something we all overlook. We just expect the player to make a tackle, but it's one that, you know, you're not in the gym to look good and have a six-pack when you have your summer holidays. You're there to actually make a nuisance of yourself. With your tackles, you wrap up the ball, you wrap up the offload, you go in these, they're called gang tackles, 2+ players going and taking the ball out so you can't get those kind of offloads. And on the flip side, as an attacker, that's where you do all your SAQ work, your speed, agility, quickness work, to be good on your feet, to be able to get those offloads. It's not actually about beating the player, but it's about getting into the place, into space to get the pass away.
Very little that could be done defensively for that try de Leroux. Just one man back of the line, very little could have done from that position. Just switch there on that Grenoble side. Anthony Hegarty, the former Brumbies hooker, makes way after that blow to the head. Vincent Campo, 28-year-old, making his 11th appearance of the season for Grenoble. 5 starts, 5 off the bench. Clearly a player trying to make his mark in this team.
This one right down in the corner, go for the maul. They've been quite good on the maul this year, Stade. A little bit far out, but at least create a bit of space, hit up the centre, go the same way, because when they do put the phases together, they've been very effective.
Outside of the boot effort there from Stade to take that player. Stade's had probably not as far as he might have liked, but with 3 minutes to go to half time, any sort of a score here for Stade Francais from this move would just edge them a little, put a bit more daylight between them, give them all the more encouragement with the half-time tea. Some nice control here now for a change from Stade Francais, so they put a bit of movement on this. Christophe Berdos issues some instructions to Le Rouge to disengage from that particular phase of the play. And it does break down. Teresa with a little switch, just to keep that Grenoble defence wondering where this point of attack is going to come from. The short pass and gain a few yards as Pape will look to do here, taken down by his opposite number, Hendrik Root, another emerging Springbok player. Root just breaks down. Very positive idea from Stade Francais to actually try and gain some territory in that way, but just no control again.
And the man in the big books, staying, letting them down. Very simple pass. Very frustrating for the forwards because they did all the right thing. See the frustration there. As we cut to frustration cam, Jeff Dubois, very angry. Fell away with half himself. But they've done all the right thing. And you see often, you saw some player there, when they're taking the ball off Dupuis, they're not just running straight into contact, they're running wide. And what they're doing there is running outside what they call the pillars, which are the guys right on the edge of the ruck. That's because that's the easy place to defend. So if you run out in between the 10 and the first forward, that's always often the weak link, because you have that disconnect between forwards and backs often. And we've seen that on a couple of occasions. Some player carried, then we saw straight away, coming again from the second row, coming from Pape, running into that same space again, and that created the space out wide, eventually staying knocking on, just breaking it all down.
It's the insight of former Toulouse, Dax, Leinster and Ireland forward Aidan McCullen you're listening to. Just a couple of minutes to half-time. The Stade Jean-Bouin is Stade Francais in the ascendancy here. Probably that 5-point margin should be a little bit more, as James Hart most certainly puts that in on the Grenoble side. Not called up for it, but it does break down.
Le terrain, décalez-vous, calmez-vous. Calmez-vous, calmez-vous. Oh, c'est ça. Calmez-vous, pas de soucis.
Making sure that everyone is of cool mind. So let's get this one going again. French rugby is all about scrum in many ways. So a little attention there just a few minutes ago to the Stade hooker, Laurence Sampere, 28-year-old. A few discipline issues this season. Seen him pick up 3 yellow cards already. Still on the pitch here is a little grubber kick through from James Hart. No great advantage in territory. He's played scrum half. fly half centre through the age grades, James Hart, before eventually finding his home at 9. French-born mother, his dad was Irish.
Combien vous êtes? 2, 4, 5. 5 plus 1. 5 plus 1.
So, Stade Francais, you imagine, gained possession here, kicked this one into touch and in for the half-time Oranges. 5-point lead. Probably they deserve a little more than that, but that's where it stands. Haven't given up on this one just yet.
Lâchez. Stop, faut reculer.
Staying with the up and under. Decent yardage advantage, but it's always a fine balance between taking too much out of it. As the church bells ring out for 40 minutes on the clock. Brilliant steal. Looked like Parise, but it wasn't. It was his back row colleague Antoine Bourban. Amazing steal. Put Stade on the front foot again. Dupuis again out of the blocks very quickly there. Jeffrey Messina. And all of a sudden, Stade can keep this one alive. Big opportunity for them here. Dupuis did come back. Wheel. According to Christophe Berdos, I think. We'll call that one up. That kind of sums up the game in a nutshell, pretty much, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Voilà, on va discuter. Arrêtez, arrêtez de parler. Non, votre 9, vous êtes le capitaine, vous, le 9.
Very welcome back to the Stade Jean-Bouin for the second half of this top 14 clash between Stade Francais and Grenoble. It is the Parisians who are out in front, 8 points to 3 they lead, primarily thanks to that Jeffrey Dueru try after 26 minutes. Player is shot there, the 24-year-old, the second try of the season, and he's looked lively. As we prepare to get underway here, alongside me in the commentary box is the former Toulouse, Dax, Leinster, Ireland forward, Aidan McCullen. Aidan, given what we've seen in the first half, what sort of, if any, change of tactic can we expect from these two?
I think Grenoble will feel it's there for the taking, although Stade have been building and building into this game, and they played good rugby. Their scores came from good workmanlike defence leading to possession, and then really well worked try. But it's still here for the taking, and Grenoble just need to pull themselves up. They'll look at the score and go, there's only 5 points in this, and we haven't actually done anything, neither for the good nor the bad, and Stade have thrown a good lot at them, but it's just that little bit of spring in the Stade step that isn't there for Grenoble, and if they get the next score, you feel the game is theirs.
And it is Stade in possession here. Nice little offload there. Pape eventually out to his full back, Hugo Bonneval. So Stade Francais just inside their own half. As Mornay staying, we mentioned what an enigmatic player he can be, flashes of brilliance, it's quite the opposite at times, and we've seen both of those facets tonight so far. So no doubt Gonzalo Quesada has a word with his own half. Christophe Berdos spoke in towards the end of that first half about Camebu. I'm sure there's been similar instructions dished out to Mornay Stein, because his partnership with Julien Dupuis obviously is going to be central to Stade Francais coming away with the points there tonight.
Yeah, and he hasn't had a good game at all. I mean, he got a couple of easy kicks, but really, or that one easy kick, but his kicking out of hand has been very, very poor. And this is what's been keeping Stade in the game, this great offloading game, particularly from the forwards in close encounters. And with Jules Plisson, who's had a really good season for Stade Francais, he's the up-and-coming 10 for this side. I feel that Plisson deserves a spot here. Stein has done nothing to show that he's the man to be starting in the side.
That skill of offloading is something that we often look at as, I often look at as somebody who's never played the game. We almost take it for granted that this thing can happen, but it's a difficult thing to be hit by a 17-stone prop and have the presence of mind to actually get rid of the ball while he's in the process.
It's one of those things I mentioned earlier on, like you're doing all your weights and your speed work, and it's orphaned for this.
A break from Stade Francais as burst through the middle here. Big opportunity for Stade early in this second half, and are almost through. Jibril Camara was just taken into touch there. Another leader of space. Stade Francais would have racked up a second try of the game, but that, again, we spoke about it at the end of the first half, completely sums up what Stade Francais have been about tonight.
Exactly. Just unfortunate. Look at this. It's Pape again. He's done it all day. Looks, gets around Stewart, leaves it in the space. Beautiful work. Great pass here. There, he had to make the decision. He had two men coming back and another man in his line of sight. He had to come inside. There was no way he was going to make that. He was always going to go into touch. Yes, back yourself, but also do the right thing. That was not the right thing to do, but offload again from Stade has just been sensational.
There haven't seen very many of those type of breaks in the game as Stade Francais turn this one over, and they are in possession here again as the replacement Lock Florian 4 breaks forward here for Stade Francais. They will have an advantage here. Unfair competition for Grenoble as Dupuy goes for the long-reaching pass outside. It found its target, but its target somehow managed to drop it. Jibril Camara under great pressure, as little pressure as you can be 5 metres out from the opposition line.
Camera going down there. A bag of potatoes.
We'll see what went on there.
Say half his teammates wanted to do that to him.
Julien Dupuy was certainly taking exception with the Grenoble player as to what exactly had gone on, but Camara, maybe his ego has taken the biggest hit of that encounter. Yeah. But it does, of course, give Stade Francais the opportunity to extend that lead. And Morne staying from directly in front of the posts. Now we're going to make any error there. Another chance to look at that again. That nice little managing to get the ball back on his own side. Unfair competition from Grenoble. As that ball came across, Camara should have taken that, really, no problem. And it was Ratu Ratini adding insult to injury for Camara. So it's Stade Francais. We spoke about how crucial that next score was going to be. And all of a sudden, 5-point lead turns into 8. And that mountain grows a little taller for Grenoble. You wouldn't mind if they'd shown any great flashes of brilliance and the tendency to get a few scores of their own, but certainly that hasn't been the case so far. Nice take there from Stein. Manages to present nicely for his support players. And out we come again. All of a sudden, Stade Francais looking like a different team here, looking very fluid, composed, controlled on the ball. As Hendrik Root looks to upset that momentum that Stade have built up, and Parise hits the deck. Stade have numbers out on the right hand side if they choose. Pape goes to ground again, and Dupuy just loses his bearings for a minute. Stein making lighter work of Vida Joyer than he might have liked. First pass from Stade, and all of a sudden they do look like a different team. I probably should have saved that for a moment or two. Julien Dupuy, that was lateral at best, forward at worst, and ultimately Grenoble get the opportunity to take play down inside that, deep inside that Stade half. No! Arias with the attempted break there. Stein with their leading kick, doesn't find his touch. So Grenoble, what can they muster here? Gengenbacher, he's 30 years of age, the full-back. Cross kick from the out half. Blair Stewart does find its target. There's a chip over the top again, just failing to retrieve it there. Julian Caminati. Grenoble might have done better to keep that ball in their own possession. So again, it comes back on the Stade side. And Stade look to punch a few holes here, get themselves a bit of yardage. Perhaps getting far enough up the pitch to give Morne Stein the opportunity to get them deep inside the Grenoble half. Takes that a little earlier maybe than he ought to have. hand is out from camera. It's not the first time tonight.
Frustrating stuff. Stade. It's like 3 steps forward, 4 steps back. It's all fits and starts. They're just not nailing down this game, but you feel it's coming for them. But at the same time, Grenoble getting through on occasion very, very easily.
Just tries a little step inside. It was the outreaching hand of Jibril Camara, the 24-year-old. Controversial character. This guy served a 6-month ban 2012 for an anti-doping violation. He missed 3 drug tests, random drug tests, so had to sit out period of the season, but did sign a new 3-year deal with Stade Francais this year. Still waiting for his first try of the season, mind you.
You can see why after tonight's performance. A couple of poor handling errors, poor decisions.
So Richard Schwara into the fray there in place of Dana Edwards, the tight head, and confirmation as well that Florian Four, the 2 is into the mix as Grenoble just about 10 minutes into the second half. They really need to get something on the board. You wouldn't say they particularly deserve any great advancements in that area. They haven't really spent a huge amount of time in the strike zone of Stade Francais. Here they are now. What can they muster? The support is slow, but does get there. Replacement hooker is to control this one. Advantage coming back on Grenoble's side here. 3 points wouldn't go astray. They may not settle for that. Infringement in the attack. Back will come.
Referee just called a screen. Truck and trailer essentially having a player in front of you as the screen, so you can use him to block the defender.
You need to be tagged onto your man, I think, is the rule there. But we mentioned how useful 3 points might be for Grenoble, and it is that point that we mentioned earlier on. They haven't been in this game in any way, shape or form, and all of a sudden they could be about to reduce that gap again to 5 points.
And they looked, I mean, they put the foot all the way down on the accelerator there, and they looked really dangerous for the 10 seconds there, and that yielded them this surely 3 points.
James Hart maybe made Grenoble Hearts flutter a little more than they should have done there, but it's effective in the end. His second penalty of the day, 2 from 2, 100% for the Dubliner so far. Brought over by Bernard Jackman on a trial in 2011. Never really worked for him in Leinster. Junior Cup and Senior Cup with the school, but never really made any inroads in terms of his provincial aspirations. He was offered a new deal recently until 2017 at Grenoble, and says he's going to take his time to consider that, but it would seem like a wise move to put pen to paper on that kind of a deal in.
Certainly, you've got to take any opportunity you get, especially in the early days. And it's really worked out well for him.
It's worked out well here for Stade Francais, because just as soon as Grenoble managed to get a little bit of headway in eating into that lead,
just making it hard for themselves, Stade, though. Even that kick just now from Grenoble at 3 points. It's not even about the 3 points, it's about upsetting the momentum for Stade. They're building, then they upset it with a silly knock-on, or in that occasion offside by Pape, and unforced errors costing them dearly on the scoreboard, because they would have targeted this game as a game they might get a bonus point from. Very, very much looking unlikely now.
So Mornestein, 2 from 3 from place kicks so far. Both kicks that he has knocked over have been very straightforward stuff. So this one should test him a little more. And it flirts with the right hand post, but does the job required. That lead again back out to 8 points.
Very confident kick from Stade. As confident as the first one of the night. looked in doubt.
So all of a sudden that scoreboard beginning to take over a little more, certainly than it had done in the first half. Which side, Aidan, do you feel that might suit a little bit more if this game opens up a little bit?
Instead are the sides putting the phases together, getting the offloads away. But it's often in tight situations like this that it unlocks space for others.
Definitely much more of an openness about this game in the last 10 minutes or thereabouts. Most of it being driven by some ambition in Stade Francais. Always quick to protect that ball. Players going in numbers. Always careful as well not to isolate themselves as Hugo Bonival steps back inside where the support is pretty quickly up, and a big hit there on Serge Parise. Looked like Peter Kimlin, who was nice and quickly out of the line.
Well, it looked like a big hit on Parise. It was more that Parise was trying to step out of the tackle, and he made a point of getting back to his feet as quick as he could.
I guess in those scenarios, the harder you're hit, the quicker you get back up.
Exactly. You don't want to give the opposition any confidence of making a big tackle. Good work by Camera on this occasion. Good leg drive, wriggling out of their tackles. That causes all kinds of mayhem in the defensive line because it doesn't know where to set. And that's the key about getting back to your feet, pumping again. Because the defensive line keeps having to set back, and that's what they call being on the back foot.
Stade also seem to be a little bit more trusting of their greater numbers, the backs, in the second half. We see a set piece from a Crawford for Grenoble.
Le 9 et le 8.
It's a bit of a breakdown in the ballet steps on the Grenoble side. 2 scrum halves, the referee saying.
Oui, il y a pas de souci.
You see one man stepping out and one man stepping back in, St. Hart and Kimlin out. Therein lies the problem. Miscommunication on the Grenoble line.
Nicely explained there by Aidan McCullen. It is Stade Francais against Grenoble. The Parisians in the ascendancy here. Really has been there again to lose from the off. They've taken the game to Grenoble, who haven't always responded in a great positive manner, but it has become a lot more open in the last 10-15 minutes since the resumption of the second half. Julien Dupuis puts this one in. And the hooker, he spoke about it in the first half, Aidan. Mind boggles as to why that ball didn't come back on the Stade side.
Unbelievable. Absolutely.
Attendez, tout le monde parle. Il y a un GPS là, ici.
The timing of that used to be such a skill, and it's just something you took for granted. Your hooker
11 et 13
on his prop, that would give the signal for the 9 to put the ball in, and that's when the whole scrum went down. And the flanker, usually the blindside flanker, would actually call the scrum in because he would be able to see the attack, and that's how an opposition would attack. They'd attack the scrum looking for the tap from the hooker and try and get that moment of imbalance. And it's funny how you see a skill totally dropped away from the game and now being forced back on the game, and players not having it in the repertoire.
It is Grenoble who look to make a few more changes. They hope of trying to shake their team out of their slumber. It's Julien Caminati and Rida Jouer that exit the play. And into it come Benjamin Thierry, the more regularly full-back, and Rudy Coetzee. Perpignan player can play wing or centre. A bit of a shake-up on that Grenoble team.
Vous, je vous vois dans l'axe et vous, je mets une liaison plus droite. Écoutez-moi, ok, je vous fais confiance, sinon on va appeler les remplaçants. On revient sur cela, je viens de votre côté. Ok, je vise personne, tout le monde a le message.
Somebody early to the change rooms if this keeps going.
Nice to see the neither front row are taking it without having a little bit of back chat of their own as well.
Flexion.
Now let's see how Stade can set this one. Lawrence Sapare, the Stade hooker, does manage to come back on the Stade side this time. Parise feeds it back outside. A nice move this time again from Stade Francais. Hugo Bonival, the man outside his camera. Surely get over from here. No, fence across quickly. probably had a little bit more ground to make up than initially looked to be the case, but it is Stade Francais still on the attack here. Nice cohesive move from them there as Dupuy comes back inside. Mike van der Merwe, who's familiar to Leinster fans. There is again Stade still on the road. Oh, Julian Arias.
Oh, you wanted it to happen, didn't you? What a fantastic move.
Well, really, they'd done everything that was needed of them to create the space to get Julian Arias on his bike and over the line.
Apologises to the crowd. In fairness to Grenoble coaching staff, admiring fantastic play, a set play, well executed. You feel the only place it's fallen down, Adrian, is when it gets out to camera, though. He's just not finishing, he's not picking good lines. He's running this weak outside line, which is really, really easy to defend. He needs to cut his lines, and I know he's only a young guy. He's got to work on that, he's got to finish, and that's why he's got no tries in this season.
24-year-old Jibril Kamarek regularly prefers to play at full-back on the wing tonight.
It's great to see, though, the Stade have brought this game, they've matured this game in this season, and they're playing fantastic rugby. When it happens, and it's great to watch.
It's just a minor lapse in concentration when that ball eventually came to Julian Arias, and a guy who's well used to scoring tries this season. Just a little bit of composure lacking at the end of it as these two packs decide they don't know each other well enough after almost an hour of this game.
The term white line fever is what Arias suffered from, seeing that open goal in front of him.
Fabrice Landreau, the Grenoble head coach, could afford himself a little wry smile after that. He will make way for the position next season for Bernard Jackman to come in. He's going to remain on as the director sportif, which I'm sure Bernard Jackman would welcome. Jackman currently the skills collision coach. The skills have been certainly could do with a bit of work tonight from Grenoble's point of view. Maybe these few changes will get them going in the direction they need. That certainly isn't the way. Back they go. Good push on from Stade Francais, but Grenoble have managed to keep control of the ball. Just as James Hart takes a little box kick. Not bad territory from the position and the pressure he was under, but it is Stade Francais on the front foot. It's Arias again. Can he make amends for his previous failings? Decent recycled ball. Stade Francais still on the drive. Threatened to lose the ball there, but again, they change the direction of the play. They have numbers out here. That's Santerre, the hooker. Stade Francais again, this time through Gerhard Mostard.
Injouable, les deux sont au sol. Tout le monde a les appuis au sol, injouable, c'est noir.
Advantage with the team going forward there, I guess. That was
Just saying the ball couldn't come out, it's unplayable.
Stade on the attack, so it is the home team will be given that possession.
That's the way Stade Francais played when they were in their full pink back in the good old days, maybe 8-10 years ago. Offloading skills of the forwards in particular was fantastic, and it's back, it really is, and they've grown it in this team. They haven't bought in a load of foreign players and manufactured it. They've fostered it throughout the club. They've had some players like Bonneval come up through the ranks, and it's paying dividends in this side.
Some top quality insight and analysis from Aidan McCullen this evening, but in case you've just joined us a little earlier on, he was suggesting that the change of colours from the pink to black had been one of the big reasons for the success. A couple of substitutions on that Stade side. Mike van der Merwe, we haven't really heard very much of him. The Lucius in Lawrence of Pair as well out. In comes Zach Cholafo and Gerhard Mostert, as we said a bit earlier, and also Michael Van Vuren, the former Free State player, 22 years of age. is just his second game of the season. Van Vuren lost to Cast back in September, so the guy is certainly lacking in game time. As I look, I see that perhaps those numbers aren't exactly right. Sinclair does remain on the pitch, so Van Vuren will still have to wait to get that second appearance. There's a change in back row. David Lyons, 44 times Aussie, is in place of the open side player. Actually, we see Pierre Abadan there, but we'll confirm those changes for you when we can. It's a little switch pass back inside. Maybe not as nice as we initially hoped. Telling Gillian Dupuy to
furious
for a minute, yeah.
Furious with his captain Parise. He just rushed it. It's a great move. This is a fantastic move. When you have the back row shooting out like that, just badly executed.
Captain can't have his scrum half barking instructions at him like that.
Exactly. The forward back age-old arguments.
David Lyons was into the fray. Antoine Bourban appears to be the player who's made way.
Had a quiet game, Bourban, actually. You know, he's come up into the French side. He's been capped. Big ball carrier, but this game tonight didn't suit him. He's not that type of offloader. He's more the kind of guy who puts dents in defences.
Might have been a bit premature on the call of Van Vuren, but he does look to be into the action now at last. As mentioned, there's not a huge amount of game time, so right into the cauldron here. Again, so somewhat in the melting pot it is his team, who are, however, in the ascendancy. It's been a good platform for them. As Christophe Berdas tells Zach Talafu, former Wasp player. Interesting to see that he's able to, clearly he can speak English, but that he chooses to communicate his point in English as well, identifying that the player may not be fantastic at French. Sure, clarity is key here. 5 metres out from that Grenoble line as James Hart puts in. And it's messy stuff from Grenoble. They are under big pressure from Stade Francais. A couple of offences there, but the first offence for from Grenoble, it appears. Well, I think we had about 10 minutes of decent, flowing, constructive rugby. Last few minutes have descended again a bit into the messy stuff, but Stade Francais obviously very eager to maintain this territory. Change it out half here for Grenoble. Nicolas Bazy comes in for Blair Stewart, former Stade player himself with Toulouse. He switched from Stade just this season, and perhaps a clear indicator of how Grenoble see him. He's played all 4 of their Hamelin Challenge Cup games so far, which ordinarily I think is a good recommendation of a player, but they're putting him in those games to have a little look at him, but this generally hasn't been their first choice teams.
Can be frustrating as well. Like he would have thought coming here he's going to take that position, but Hart has really nailed it down. Blazy as well is a good kicker. He's a place kicker. Didn't really make it into the Stade side, didn't even make it into the Toulouse side. But on your point about being put into those sides like the Hamelin Challenge Cup, the unfortunate thing is you can be a player who really wants to succeed in that side, but the teammates are going along just to make up the numbers, and that's where it becomes frustrating, because you don't have 15 players in the squad, fresh players waiting to be picked. So you see a montage of the failings on the Stade side.
They seem to have already engaged in the celebration before the grounding of the ball had taken place. And Stade do manage to get that ball back on their own side. It was interesting to hear Bernard Jackman last week speak about that Hamelin Challenge Cup, the back-to-back games, even before the second game. Quite clearly, Grenoble or not really overly interested in the competition.
It's terrible for the competition as well. That years ago, you'd see that with a lot of the French sides. You'd see them sending Operation Human Shield, the weakest side possible, away to these games. And you know, Bourgoin did it famously against Leinster back in 2000 2003, got absolutely hockeyed 80-0 or something. There was uproar, and then put on a great performance on the return leg back in Bourgoin and played pretty well. Leinster still beat them, but it was just to prove the point that they just didn't have any interest, and they didn't have the resources in the club in their heads to put up a performance in the European Cup. Their focus is top 14 very, very clearly, and that hasn't gone away from a lot of the French sides.
And some developments in the Heineken Cup today as well. The RFU into fresh talks about the future of European rugby. Premiership Rugby refusing to enter any ERC organised event specifically, and RFU Chief Ian Ritchie apparently proposing an event run by the Six Nations Board, which itself potentially under threat by all these posturings. But here we are, 15 minutes to go. This top 14 clash. Stade Francais on course to nudge themselves inside the top 4 in the ladder heading into the weekend. As things stand, a lot of changes on both sides here from the starting 15s. Just one try for the 65 odd minutes so far. Jeffrey Dumeru in the first half. Gets out again, and James Hart with the put in. It's solid, perhaps before the push comes, but Grenoble remaining square. Berdos telling James Hart, use it in English. He's pretty proficient in French at this stage. And a decent kick as well, so good territory there, good kick from Fabien Gangenbacher.
The best kick from an out half, or indeed a fullback of the night. Fantastic weighted kick, good angle on it, intelligent kick as well. We haven't seen that from Mornay Stain, haven't seen it from Stewart when he was on. Good kick and just really well weighted.
Yeah, standing in the out half position, and a guy who does like to play at 10 as well, so well capable of doing it. Now it's just a question to see if Grenoble can put some heat on this Stade line out. It doesn't fall that way as Parise gives chase here, as is usually the case, and Ratu Ratini had Sergio Parise in his grill. He was thinking, best thing I can do here is take my eye off the ball, but it does come back on the Grenoble side. Deep inside their own territory. Rudy Coatsey takes that one into contact. Again, the opportunity with a little chip over the top. Doesn't find it in touch this time. Goes. Well, Grenoble now with 8 points in, and obviously outside that crucial 7-point gap, really running out of time. That's not going to help them as the Stade attack gives chase here, and that's not dealt with at all by Grenoble. Julian Ratini it was. Just seemed to completely switch off there. That was a real opportunity for Stade Francais.
You could see what Dupuis was trying to do as well. He was trying to take that ball over his shoulder. Hence the knock on. That's why he looks so exaggerated with the knock on. He's trying to get the ball weight onto the fingers, pull it back over the shoulder, knowing where Parise was. Good to see Plisson come on. I thought he should have came on earlier on in the out half position. He's had a good season, been a good find for Stade this season. Really stepped up to the plate. Here we'll see it again.
And a shocking few minutes for Ratini. He had the drop just a minute ago. Completely failing to deal with that. Very nice, we did make the recovering tackle. Eventually deal with it, but we saw the action there. 4 tries already this season. Pretty handy from a drop goal too, with 11 points in it. With 8 points in it, I should say. 11 points would be, you imagine, with just over 10 minutes to go, enough to get them over the line.
He's been missed from the drop goal perspective tonight, because what he does is he can be guilty of overplaying the drop goal because he's good at them, but he'll build momentum in the side, he'll build confidence, because when you go up and visit the opposition, green zone, they call it attacking speak, he comes away with points, and they become clinical. Then they go, every time we get up there we get points no matter what, whether it's a penalty, a try or a drop goal.
Stade Francais again here after another messy scrum, have an opportunity, and this time they will get over, and this time it's Mayor Bosman who achieves exactly pretty much the same move that Julian Arias broke down just a few minutes ago. But it's Mayor Bosman with his second try of the season, just his fifth start, this guy. Yeah, he's another one of these players who started all 4 Challenge Cup games for Stade Francais, but reminding the French Stade Francais coaching staff that he's well able to execute. And surely now, that's Stade Francais safe and over the line.
Yeah, that's them done. And really weak tackling there, just stepping around the tackle. Exactly what they needed, exactly at the right time, because that snuffs out any chance of Grenoble coming away with a losing bonus point. Just a formality with the drop. There you go.
And conversion. So there you have it, Stade Francais. 10 minutes to go, 21 points to 6 is the lead here. Really just a few injections of skill and of pace on the ball over the course of this game, as Stade Hooker is taken down in pretty dramatic fashion by Vincent Campo. Vincent Campo has already been sent off this season. Tackles like that are probably part of the reason for that as well on Michael Van Buren.
Look, he didn't pull his calf here. When you see this, does really well. Runs at the referee. It's just that there, look.
Something slightly comical about it, but quite serious at the same time. But it was the awkwardness of the fall, really.
You could pay for that in the future. Very clever thing Van Buren did there. You see the likes of Christian Lapiches did to Toulouse. Pick out the referee, run at him, because that's exactly where there's a gap in defence. Defensive lines can fill, but if the referee's in the line, that's the weak spot.
And it is Plisson with the relieving kick for Stade Francais here. It's not a bad kick into a bit of space as well. It's Rattini who comes across to gather. Shaky over the last few minutes. Rattini scored a couple of tries against Wasps actually last week. He may not have been expected to start this evening, but he is one of the 4 players to hold his place in the Grenoble team. Maybe next week the Grenoble coaching staff may have other thoughts on who they want in that position, but again, Grenoble just failing to deal with a very routine kick forward from Stade Francais, and again a big opportunity. It's the replacement hooker from Duran coming forward for Stade Francais. Pierre Ravedan. A couple of caps for France, but nearly 10 years ago now, Ravedan. His opportunity, you imagine, at 33 has passed him by. So Stade now in control here again. Grenoble have withered somewhat over the last 10-15 minutes. They offered a huge amount over the first 40 minutes, but certainly been much more about Stade Francais. They've really put their stamp on this game over the last while. Every time I mention how good they're doing, Plisson has just let me down there, but it is a decent effort from Stade Francais. £21 points to 6 they lead.
I see the Plisson knock on.
You had given him such a big uplet earlier on, Aidan, and I just said how fantastic they were.
Plisson just giving the knock on away. Look at this as well. Very, the little kick in the head. I thought he was in serious trouble here, because he just passed the ball over so quickly. Waiting to see this. The boot in the head. Head goes down. Thought he was in trouble.
Here, Bosman try score one of the two try scores for Stade was just stretching a little bit as he lent his boot to that one, probably just as well for the Grenoble player. So well inside the last 10 minutes now, Stade Francais in command of this game.
There's still time there. Waste that can't play to get this bonus point. Of course, they need the 4 tries.
Je vais là, j'ai pas dit que j'avais vu. Je vais là, oui. Ouais, c'est bon. Pas de soucis, je vais là. Allez, on y va, messieurs. Allez, route. Ah, attendez, changement. 9 noirs.
More replacements here.
Fio, come on here. Good replacement. This guy. Wait to see the difference in the speed of the ball off the ground. Unbelievable difference between him and Dupuis. Dupuis got better as the season's gone on.
Okay, merci.
In the early days, Fio far superior.
Former Leicester player Dupuis leaves the fray, and the former Racing Metro man into it, Jerome Fiol. Irish fans will be familiar enough with this guy after his incident with Peter Stringer last year. He served a 14-week ban for spitting at the Bath scrum half. Mostly featured off the bench so far for Stade. Fiol.
16 rouge.
35 years of age as well, so lots of experience about him.
16 rouge, changement.
Fiery character as well. Been through the clubs. Was in Toulouse. Quite successful in his Toulouse days as well. Fitted this style of play particularly well.
So it's replacements all around. Just over 5 minutes to go. Here's Fiol with his first chance to get his hands on the ball.
Non, pas les mains, derrière.
Burst forward there, camera player, but not really a huge gain of territory on that up and under.
Non. Oh, 19 paris de jeu.
It just needed a couple of cream pies being thrown and a few clown wigs.
Pour la dernière fois.
Comedy of errors.
On en avant.
Stade coaching staff certainly see the funny side of it. Gonzalo Quesada.
The writer's saying, edit that into the video for Monday morning, or take it out.
Fabrice Landreau manages to see the funny side of it.
Flexion. Lié. Je. Oui, neuf.
Is the call, and
Sortez neuf.
it is. Balls comes back in the Grenoble side again. It's very messy.
On a fait sur le truc.
almost a battle of
Arrêtez le commenter.
who can make the least mistakes at this stage.
Le neuf qui est plaqueur, qui est le filage.
He's always got his
Ici là.
just a mischief. Climbing all over Kimlin.
Decent kick there. So if you're among the Grenoble coaching staff this evening and you're setting into a 8-9 day layoff, obviously the holidays are upcoming, there's not a huge amount of positivity to be taken out of this one. What's your message to the Grenoble players full time here?
I suppose you'll be disappointed. You'll be disappointed that they didn't actually put everything in and leave some of themselves on the pitch, you know. You gotta just empty yourself, especially when you've got a break. You know, the French Rugby Players Union fought for this 10-day break in France. It used to not be there at all. They fought for it, but you need to actually play your part in that as well. If you're going to get the break, put everything into the game. They just haven't. They've been fits and starts, and the game's still there. It was still there for a very long time until that last score. Disappointment is what I take out of it.
Perhaps it was there for longer than in many ways Grenoble deserved, but they do have the opportunity to put a decent spin on the end of this game, take a bit of positivity from it, tie them into the Christmas break. 3 minutes here to try and muster 5-pointer. Alexandre at the back. it was never that controlled to begin with. He just felt it was a matter of time really before that broke down.
And there goes the losing bonus point. They really needed a score there. Then another one. That's it, gone.
Well, he knows it.
And on the flip side, Stade run out of time. This is just about racking up the points and the points difference.
This result tonight will see Stade Francais into the top 4 of the table. Their points difference could certainly do with a little bit of work, are inferior than those around them. Just 10 for Stade compared to Toulon, who are just one place and 1 point above them, with points difference of plus 90. So obviously they've scraped through a few victories where some of those around them have managed to put a bit of daylight between those and their opponents. Still an opportunity for Stade to get another try here. Still a couple of minutes to muster that. Sergio Prise fires himself into the tackle as eagerly as he did in the first minute. Oh, a player upended there. That looked dangerous enough. Certainly no element of driving him into the ground, but no great care taken with removing him from the play either. As Martini takes possession wide out on the left-hand side there. Switching wings with all the switches and changes for Grenoble. Hard on his knees, managed to get that one away. Under pressure as well, a nice offload. As far as Ganga Bakar, the pirouettes out of the challenge. This is nice from Grenoble. Under a bit of pressure there now too. As Nicolas Bazi swings it wide as far as Florian Foy. A multitude of positions. Foy, block, number 8, playing the blind side too. This breaks down slightly now for Grenoble. Still they have it. They drop the shoulder there. Vincent Campo. Eventually.
C'est bon l'accrochage derrière.
15 seconds to go. Let's see some fireworks yet here this evening. There might have been some sense in this 2 or 3 minutes into the game from Grenoble point of view. The game's lost. You kind of imagine at this point.
It's just Mathieu at that stage.
Pour le début, on fait un arrêt de jeu. Vidéo.
Stade Francais big for the home will be extended and
tu as entendu hier, on voit pas le début de l'accrochage. On voit juste la fin où il n'y a rien, mais est-ce que tu peux vérifier s'il n'y a pas de geste répréhensible ou pas? Sinon je repartirai par une mêlée pour les Noirs.
Skullduggery.
It's a good one. He's looking for any ill-mannered gestures. Let's put it that way.
It's already broken out there, just the bottom left of your screen.
Once Parise gets tackled, kind of nothing malicious in it.
I think it might be this.
Goes on a little bit more. That's often. Little dig on Pape.
Yeah, nothing
to over. Pape, nothing to Pape.
Toward with that, yeah.
Chin made out of pure concrete.
Very harsh in these players. 10 seconds to go to take any sort of action.
Ok, d'accord. Ok, donc on va reprendre par une mêlée. Ok, merci Jean-Claude. Bon, il y a juste un accrochage, on repart par Nana.
No, it's one of the things I actually like about Pape.
Il n'y avait rien
A lot
derrière,
of
c'est
players
juste un
trying
accrochage.
to incite a foul out of it, so you'll get a yellow card. And he never takes it, even then it continued afterwards with Groot trying to get him, entice him into hitting him, and then Pape just pushed him, and unfortunately Parise is on the ground and Groot just falling over Parise. He doesn't get dragged into that.
Ultimately, the TMO Jean-Claude Levrier deciding there was nothing in it. We'll play out the last couple of seconds here as the church bells ring out to take us through that 80-minute mark. 21 points to 6. It stands. Little quick tap and go from Kinlan. definitely hasn't been as influential in this game as he might have liked. Very much dominated by the Stade back row, led in the main by Sergio Prise. Mobile for Kimlin, but didn't see any of that tonight, really.
Allez, ça c'est pour vous. Oui, oui, oui. 19.
We'll continue in search of that next try. Double kick probably wasn't the option there because it means that Grenoble will take the ball out of play for no other reason than they weren't going to score a try for the first 80 minutes, and they're unlikely to do so with what little time was left. And that's how it finishes. Stade Francais 21, Grenoble 6. Aidan McCullough, it's been a pleasure speaking with you this evening. Just result obviously in the end.
Absolutely well deserved result. Grenoble didn't show up, fits and starts. Good to see Stade getting a result there. The ones that played the positive rugby, played an offloading game and fully deserved the victory. Happy Christmas, Stade Francais.
21 points to 6. It finishes. That's it from us this evening. Good night.